Hello and welcome to Bible Analytica. In this video, we'll be examining the concept of Lilith. So, who is Lilith? Some believe Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and some believe she was his second wife after Eve. So, was she Adam's first wife or his second wife? And where did the concept of Lilith actually come from? Some accounts hold that Lilith makes her first appearance in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, where it's believed she was made from the same soil as Adam. And some believe Lilith makes an appearance in Isaiah chapter 34, verse 14. So, is Lilith actually mentioned in the Bible? The primary source for the narrative of Lilith as Adam's first wife comes from the medieval Jewish text, the Alphabet of Ben Sira. In this text, Lilith is created alongside Adam from the same clay and refuses to submit to his authority, leading to her departure from the Garden of Eden. Some interpretations of Genesis suggest that the creation of woman from Adam's rib implies a prior creation of a female partner. Those who believe Lilith was Adam's first wife often view her as part of this alternative creation narrative. In regard to the concept of Lilith being Adam's second wife, this belief gained prominence after the emergence of Kabbalah and Jewish mystical traditions. Some later writings within these traditions suggest that Lilith was Adam's second wife after Eve, but this is not correct. So let's take a look at the verses that talk to man's creation, and we'll start at the beginning in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. How anyone can arrive at the conclusion that Lilith was created in this verse is just beyond comprehension, because there is absolutely nothing in this verse that implies that woman was created from the earth. In fact, it doesn't even say that man was created from the earth at this point. And when you read the text in context, it appears this verse is simply a transition, or teaser if you like, as to what's about to happen in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. And again, there's no mention of woman at this point. And so God puts Adam in the Garden of Eden to keep it and to dress it, and commands Adam not to eat from the tree of good and evil. Then God notices that it was not good for Adam to be alone, and so God creates the animals and brings them to Adam to name them. And the Lord God said, "It is not good that the man should be alone. I will make an helpmeet for him." And out of the ground God created every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam is still alone, and woman has not yet been created. And we can assume that when God created the animals, he created male and females within each species, because when he created the fish and the birds, he blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply." And we all know that you need a male and a female to procreate. So while the animals procreated with each other within their own species, There was no female of Adam's species for Adam to procreate with, and woman has not yet been created. And keep in mind, there is absolutely nothing that suggests that woman was created between Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, and Genesis chapter 2, verse 21. And so then God notices there was not a helpmeet for Adam, and so he creates Eve, which brings us to Genesis chapter 2, verse 21. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And so, where Eve was created from Adam's rib, some people believe that the woman who was created was Lilith, the same Lilith that some say is implied in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, as mentioned earlier. And so, if we continue on to Genesis chapter 2, verse 22, it says, "And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed." So here again, there is nothing that alludes to the creation of a Lilith in any of these verses, and it's at this point that many believe that Lilith refused to submit to Adam, and as a result, she left the Garden of Eden in self-imposed exile. And it's here that some believe that Lilith mated with demons and became a mother to various supernatural beings. These beings were believed to be harmful and are associated with nocturnal disturbances and infant mortality. But this account is not found anywhere in the Bible. And so the next place people insist that they see Lilith is in the book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 14. Isaiah chapter 34, verse 14 says, "The wild beasts of the desert shall also meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow, the screech owl also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest." So the idea that the screech owl in this verse is referring to Lilith comes from certain interpretations and translations of the Hebrew text. The Hebrew word screech owl is often translated to Lilith due to its phonetic similarity. The translation of screech owl to Lilith is also based on contextual associations. In the surrounding verses of Isaiah 34, the text describes a desolate and uninhabited land with various creatures dwelling there, including night creatures. The mention of the screech owl alongside with these creatures has led some to associate Lilith with this verse because Jewish folklore considers Lilith to be a night-dwelling demon. And so, when reading the book of Isaiah, it's important to remember that it was written in a particular historical and cultural context, and its primary message relates to the judgment and desolation of Edom. And as with any interpretation of the Bible, it's essential to consider the broader context, historical background, and overall message of the passage, rather than relying solely on isolated words or associations. While the Lilith story has captured the imagination of some people, and found a place in certain cultural traditions, it's essential to distinguish it from the authoritative teachings of the Bible. The biblical account of creation in Genesis does not mention Lilith or any other wife of Adam before Eve, and there is no reference to a Lilith in the book of Isaiah. As Christians, our beliefs and doctrines should be grounded in the scriptures, and extra-biblical traditions should be approached with discernment and a clear understanding of their historical context.